Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles Sabanson, and welcome you guys to another episode of the DREAMERSPRO show. We cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And today we got a hell of a show for you guys, but before we get into it, please make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. And also, if you're not following the DREAMERSPRO podcast, we have that pin in the comments below. And also, shout out to Shaq. I just read this morning that he has now the he's number 5 in all of the United States in terms of sports podcasts and number 1 in terms of NBA podcasts. So shout out to Shaq, the big podcast, and what they got going on over there. Anyway, let me get into this topic here. So this was a topic that I heard about last night, but I didn't watch the video. And then this morning, while we were kind of brainstorming for some topics, we were like, okay, well, why don't we take a look at this topic? And I'm like, okay, might as well talk about it, even though I kind of have my feelings on it. So as you guys know, recently Kenny Smith revealed how he had to essentially contact Stephen A. Smith to kind of be the mediator between himself and Kyrie Irving when they were having their dispute. Now, why did he do that? If you guys know anything about Stephen A. Smith and Kyrie Irving, they had been at odds for years. But Stephen A. Smith is the one with the platform, so it's usually his side that you would hear during their dispute. And Stephen A. Smith used to go at Kyrie Irving pretty harshly in the past, especially during his days as a Brooklyn Net, right? He really used to go at him. And we actually produced some shows reacting to some of the things that Stephen A. Smith used to say. And he used to go at Kyrie so hard to the point where he would actually have on-air disputes with Jay Williams over the veracity of his comments and the tone in which he would go at Kyrie Irving. Now, I know it's been a while, over a year now, but actually we want to play some of what Stephen A. Smith had to say about Kyrie Irving to give the audience a refresher so you can understand where all this thing really started from. But before we even get into some of the comments that Stephen A. Smith had to make about Kyrie over the years, this video is brought to you by our sponsor, PrizePicks, which is the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. PrizePicks is really simple. Instead of just selecting a team, you just select 2 or more players, pick more or less their projected stats, and then you place your entry. For example, this week, I'm selecting 2 entries. Stephen Curry for more than 25 points, and then I got Anthony Davis for more than 2 blocks, and Damian Lillard for more than 4 3-pointers made. PrizePicks is also the only daily sports platform with an injury insurance policy. So for example, if you have a player who gets injured in the first half and doesn't return to the second half, that player gets automatically rebooted. What I also love about PrizePicks is that it offers weekly promotions like Taco Tuesdays. Each Tuesday, PrizePicks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value. So go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match of up to $100. That's go to prizepicks.com/CLNS, use code CLNS for a first deposit match of up to $100. And remember, whenever you support this sponsor, you're supporting this channel. Thank you. So what we want to do now is we want to play some of the things that Stephen A. Smith has said about Kyrie Irving over the years in terms of his reluctance to go to work and him feeling like he's better than other people and all of that stuff. So we're going to play some of that for you guys now, and then we're going to come back and react to what he had to say. Take a listen to Stephen A. Smith here.
Stephen A., should our position on Kyrie change?
Yes, it should change in regards to Kyrie. It should be even worse than we originally imagined. You know, I have to be, and I try to be, incredibly careful, fellas, in terms of I try to focus on what you do, not who you are. People make mistakes. None of us are flawless. All of us have made mistakes. We'll continue to make mistakes. None of us are perfect, and we get all of that. But I've been covering the NBA now for almost 25 years. I mean, this is some of the stupidest nonsense I've ever seen. Just flat out stupid. So let me get this straight. So if the reports are true, because we don't know whether they are or not, okay, but let's give credit to Sham and others who have reported this. It is what it is. Let's go with that, okay? If it is true, Jay, if it is true, Marcus, so you don't have a problem with taking the vaccine, your position is that you're going to sit up there and compromise the championship aspirations of an organization you signed on to represent. You coaxed Kevin Durant into signing on to represent. You played the role in coaxing James Harden into signing on to represent. You're going to compromise all of that because you want to give a voice to the voiceless. Really? And how is that going to work out for you, Kyrie Irving? You're going to disappear from the game of basketball? Who the hell is going to be interested in what you have to say when you have proven that you can't even be trusted enough to do your damn job? A job you volunteered for. This ain't the military where you were drafted. You chose to play basketball. You chose to enter the NBA. You chose to sign that contract as a free agent to go to the Brooklyn Nets. You chose Brooklyn as your destination. You chose the Nets franchise to represent. You asked KD and James Harden to come on board with you in Brooklyn to establish your own legacy, and then you leave them hanging. Because of what exactly? Your own individual principle? I am not calling Kyrie Irving stupid. Kyrie Irving, I happen to believe, is an intelligent brother whose heart is in the right place. But now you've regressed to an alarming level of self-righteousness. It not only makes you look hypocritical and untrustworthy, it makes you look what I know you are not, which is flat out stupid. Did you see it? I saw the news. I know you saw the news. Oh, Kyrie Irving, you opted in after all. Took that money, didn't you? 1 year deal, y'all. 1 year, $36.9 million. Exercises his player option. So what does that mean? To y'all, it means Kyrie's going to be a Brooklyn Net. You know what it means to me? I guess he's a peon too, huh? So you got to go to work. You got to show up to work. You actually got to go to work. You got to go up there and earn that money. You got to show up to work. Because even if you plan on leaving the Brooklyn Nets, because we all know that Kyrie doesn't plan on staying in Brooklyn for the full year. He's offended. He's appalled. He's put back by the fact that the Brooklyn Nets actually said you have to show up to earn your money. We know that offends him. We know that offends him. So you're thinking, hey, guess what? I'm going to get the hell up out of here. Philly somewhere, they willing to give me a 3-year guaranteed deal. The Clippers could get their hands on me. They want me. Maybe I could get to the Los Angeles Clippers. Who knows? Maybe somehow, some way, the Los Angeles Lakers will be able to work out a sign and trade. Guess what, Kyrie? No matter what options you may think you have down the road, it all starts with you having to show up to work first.
So you heard what Stephen A. Smith had to say there. So Stephen A. Smith's channel, the Stephen A. Smith Show, released a a clip from his show where it essentially says, I apologize to Kyrie Irving. So I click on it to hear exactly what he said, right? And as I'm listening to it, he's talking about the history, talking about what Kenny Smith had to say, what Charles Barkley had to say. And then it got to the point where he actually had to address his comments, where he ultimately had to apologize. And to me, it seemed like he reluctantly did so. He said that, listen, I'm rarely wrong, but in this occasion here, it seems that I am wrong. So therefore, I was wrong, and I want to apologize to Kyrie Irving for some of the things that I said. So for those of you who didn't hear this half-hearted apology, you want to play what Stephen A. Smith had to say for you now, and then want to come back and react to his comments. Take a listen to Stephen A. Smith here.
And it wasn't until Kenny Smith placed that call to me that I had to look at myself differently, because he reminded me of those numerous people that raised Kyrie. They also influenced me. And when I talked about Kyrie in the fashion that I talked about him, it wasn't just a reflection on him, it was a reflection on them. And when I looked at it that way, it gave me cause to pause. And then I remembered having an argument on First Take on ESPN with Jay Williams. And Jay Williams wasn't even attacking what I said. He was attacking the energy and how I said it. And I thought about that. And I said, damn, he's got a point. And then I ran into Kyrie. And we were at the Crypto.com arena. And Kyrie came up behind me, touched me on the back, and said, yo, bro, at this point, it ain't even about us. It's about you and my dad and the way y'all been going at each other. and y'all got me caught in the middle of it. And when he said that to me, it hit home. I picked up the phone, live from the Crypto.com arena, sitting baseline, and I texted his dad and asked his dad to meet with him. And his dad, being the class act that he is, agreed to meet with me in New York City a few weeks later. We met, we talked. Both of us apologized to each other for how we construed how one was coming at the other, et cetera, and we've been cool ever since. And when Kenny Smith brought that story up yesterday, it reminded me of the role that I play, the responsibility that I have. And I'm not one that usually gives a shit what anybody thinks. I stand on what I stand on. I feel the way that I feel because I pride myself in being man enough to acknowledge when I'm wrong if I think I'm wrong, because I think it's rare. But I was wrong.
So you heard what your man Stephen A. Smith had to say. What do I think about his apology? If I'm being 100% sincere with you, I really don't care. I don't care because I feel as if number one, he did it because someone else came to him and he kind of had a eureka moment, number one. Number two, as I was listening to his apology, he seemed to be pretty rooted in his original positions. And he said that I'm seldom wrong and all of this stuff. But in this case, I apologize. To me, it didn't really seem sincere. It just seemed like, well, somebody brought it up to me and he mentioned this and the people that we all kind of are connected to, and therefore I had to think about it in a different direction, all that. So I apologize. So that's his side. In terms of Kyrie Irving, I personally don't believe Kyrie Irving would even care. Kyrie Irving doesn't strike me as someone that would care about this, to be honest with you. Now, Stephen A. Smith apologizing, I think it also shows that, first of all, Stephen A. Smith is always having problems with people. You got to go back and ask yourself, why is it always him? Right? Why is it always him? And I think the reason why he kind of gets into these battles with people is because of how he goes about expressing his views. Right? And I think sometimes it rubs a lot of people the wrong way. Stephen A. Smith comes off as a person that's very combative, ready to go to war with you if he has an issue with you. For example, he spoke about the Isaiah Thomas situation. And on Twitter, he originally said, I'm not going to spend any more time on this. And then the very next day goes on ESPN First Take and brings up the very topic, right? He's somebody that Stephen A. Smith seems as someone that if you question his position on things, he's going to get into this verbal dispute with you. Right. Same thing with Lonzo Ball. Remember, he's the one that said, according to reports, that Lonzo Ball could barely stand up out of a chair. Right. Then Lonzo Ball released a video of him standing up and down out of a chair. He's like, Stephen A. Smith, where do you get your sources? Stephen A. Smith hears that and he goes, how dare you? Then he threatens to release his medical records. I know where you got your surgery. I know the doctor that gave you your surgery. I know the date. I'm like, bro, just because he pushed back on a comment you made, you took it to this degree? Like, was it necessary to take it to that point? So to me, look, Stephen A. Smith is no saint here. And sometimes he's right, sometimes he's wrong, but he does his fair share talking. And I think that that is one of the reasons why he always finds himself mired in some type of beef. My thing is, Stephen A. Smith disguises his views by saying, well, I'm just doing my job. Therefore, I'm giving a very harsh critique. But whenever people push back on him, then all of a sudden he gets upset. Well, why are you saying this? Why are you saying that? There are a lot of people that have had issues with him within his field. Right, a lot of people. I don't need to go through the gambit. If you want a few, Marcellus Wiley, Max Kellerman, Dan Lebitard, and the list goes on and on and on and on of people that have had issues with him in one place or another. And I also think there's a group of people out there that wish he was a little bit more graceful and not so arrogant. But then again, that's a personality thing. Some people love it, some people hate it. But overall, man, I wasn't really moved by it. To be honest with you, I didn't come back and say, wow, man, this guy really surprised me by his word. I didn't feel any of that at all. But we must not forget here, the reason that Kyrie Irving is being talked about in such a positive way is because of what Kyrie's doing. It has nothing to do with what these people are saying. Kyrie is the catalyst for all of this, and I think the focus should be on him. These are my thoughts. Whatever you guys think, leave your thoughts in the comments, and we catch you guys on the next show. Peace.